What's going on, everybody? Matt the Lumberjack Landlord here for a Thursday night fun to talk about all the wonderful things going on in the real estate market today. What's going on in my market, what should be going on in your market, what you should be looking at. But one of the things that, we just finished up an amazing boot camp with my students is absolutely a blast. Had a ton of fun. They learned a lot. In fact, I think there's already 3 deals under contract. 4 maybe. Actually, I think it's 4 deals under contract from when we started the boot camp. So beware, if you are going to be in the boot camp, deals will start happening. So if you don't want to do deals, stay out of the boot camp. But what I think is really interesting is, 3 real secrets, to getting massive margin deals. I'm consistently seeing the same stuff kind of over and over and over again. Hey, Coster, good to see you, pal. The challenge that there is, all due respect to my brother who I love, Dion, he absolutely has found a way to make the MLS work, but most of you won't. Sorry, way it goes. And you are going to be you're going to be kicking dollar bills out of way to get to the nice shiny pennies when you're doing MLS deals. It's just the way it is. So really there's 3 main areas. There's 3 main areas of focus, if you will, when it comes to creating these massive margin deals. The very first thing of creating a massive margin deal is not buying it off of MLS. I look at my market every single day. I see the deals that are going on market, and I'll give you a real life example happened just this week. My agent, I called him and I just said, hey, I said, what are we seeing stuff trading at? I said, I've seen some stuff pop on the market. Quite frankly, it's overpriced. And he goes, you're not going to believe it. He goes, I got that thing sold. And I said, it's been on the market for a week. He goes, yep. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, that's such a joke. And so we talked about it because it was exactly that. It was a complete and total joke. The thing went on the market for $600,000. It's on the top 3 worst streets in one of the cities that I do work in. And so it's a top 3 worst. And it was on for $600,000. And it's a 5-bedroom duplex, 3 and 2, not 5 aside, 3 and 2. Blows me away. But they got the 600 and they got it in 10 days. So that's the MLS deal, right? That's the MLS deal that everybody's looking at. Now, here's the crazy thing. The rents, one of the sides is vacant. The other side is renting at $1,600. Guys, $1,600. Do the mortgage real quick. If you're only putting 5% down as an owner occ or 3.5% down plus fees, blah, 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 then you're putting down, $30,000. You're going to have a mortgage on 570 at, 7%. So you're going to be 735. I mean, you're all of $4,500 a month easy. And for that, you're now living on one of the worst 3 streets. You are going to be paying, over $3,000 a month out of pocket. And that's only if you're in the 2-bedroom. And 2 bedrooms where we are, between 18 for bargain and 25, 2,600 in this type of range. Guys, this is insane. These numbers are nuts. They're absolutely nuts. So as you break it down, again, could you do an MLS deal? Yeah. Is there maybe an MLS deal in your market that you can put yourself into human origami trying to make work? Yeah, there probably is. But why are we talking about deals that we're trying to make work? Why aren't we out there kicking ass and creating deals with just a ton of margin? They're out there, I promise. I know guys in this chat, Kyle Dorn, I know he's creating massive deals with massive margin in his market. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do this, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as the show goes on. But really, the 3 main points are, one is MLS deals, they're going to continue not to work, guys. They're just going to continue not to work. In most markets, and certainly on small multifamily, guys, I told you 2 years ago, if you listen to me, you're a lot wealthier now than you were then. But 2 years ago, I said the most undervalued asset in almost every single market is duplexes, triplexes, and quads. And now the gap has closed between the bedroom count of a single family house for a typical, what would be rented single family house, and what now is a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex with around the same bedroom count per unit. You're 80% the value of that unit, and you used to be only about 20% more expensive. Now you're 30 or 35, maybe even 40% more expensive. The numbers still work. They're still embarrassingly awesome. But as we see it continue to develop, the first thing is, you need to be not doing MLS deals. That's just a fact. If you want to crush with margin, you don't do MLS deals. If you're banking on appreciation, you certainly don't do MLS deals. But if you're looking for that return on your capital, like what are the equations that we have, I'm not doing MLS deals. Again, to finish out the example that I use, $600,000, what that thing closed for, $1,600 is what somebody's paying there for rent. That person's gone. There's no way that person can stay. They'll have to do some work to the unit. It's still going to be on one of the crappiest streets in the city, and it's going to maybe put them at $2,500 a month for rent. But there's still going to be at least $2,500 a month out of pocket for a 2-bedroom when they're going to be renting out 3. So it's a bad deal. Quite frankly, it's just kind of a lousy kind of shitty deal. But these are the deals that people are doing. So the reason I use that as a comparison is because the deal that I closed less than 30 days ago, as you guys know, that deal came to me based on just people having seen me around. So the second piece to getting massive margin deals is networking. It's talking to people. It's making sure that they know who you are, what you do, and anytime they should contact you. Because, hey, I can probably help you out. And if you decide not to sell it to me, no problem. I can at least help you with numbers and make sure that you're in the ballpark and that you're not overpriced and that you're getting the things that you need to get. Again, these are things that we're seeing on a consistent basis. And so I ended up getting my deal done for $435,000. Mine is 1 bedroom shy of that other one that just sold for $600,000. And if you're asking questions, no, that bedroom is not worth $170,000. So that would mean that I probably got my building about $100,000 cheap, which I did. I got about $100,000 less than what it should have cost me if it went on the open market. Now, obviously, they were accounting for the fact that they were going to, not have real estate fees and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But again, at the end of the day, that wasn't $100,000. That was more like, $25,000. So again, for me, $100,000 more, and I have $100,000 of equity in that house day one. The cool thing for me is that I also put 20% down. So I have another 20% of equity. So I actually have closer to $200,000 of equity in this house. But what was the sexy thing about this house for me? Yeah, the rents on one side were $2,150, but knowing enough about the market, knowing my rent box inside and out. For those of you who don't know what the rent box is, look it up. It's on the channel. But for those who don't know what that rent box is, understanding area market rents, understanding exactly what they are and for what quality you can get what kind of money for, I can walk through a property and better assess, because that appraisal on a duplex isn't going to help me. They're not going to take they're not going to take a per unit or rental income view of that asset. What they're looking at is something called a comp, which is a comparable sale. So the comparable sales in that market, they were higher, but they didn't justify the rents that were there. So because this property had been owned for a number of years and they hadn't properly raised the rents, they got less for the property. But I walk the property and I say, you're getting $1,850 for this, but it's worth a lot more than $1,850. So I understand what I'm buying for. However, it's not just what I'm buying for. It's also understanding what I can rent for. So in that example, when you're talking about one, you're buying it wholesale, you're buying it because you're not doing it on MLS, because big margin deals are not on MLS. They factually are not. They just aren't. In most areas, they just factually are not there. So we're looking for a different way to buy it. Second thing is you're networking, you're talking to a bunch of different people, and you're really making sure that everyone around in that area, you guys got to, why are you not calling agents? Why are you guys not calling agents? You need to be calling agents. Kyle Dorn, he was in the boot camp. We said, call agents. He starts calling agents. What a jerk. He starts calling agents. Every single person in his area knows he buys deals. Every single person in his area knows that he buys what type of deals. So now this guy's got more deals than he knows what to do with. And he's literally just setting himself up and putting himself in a position where he can do as many of those deals as he possibly can do. He's going to run out of damn payment money before he runs out of deals. That's what's going to happen. So as we consider that, as we go through all of this mess that we're talking about, right? I look at the unit and I recognize that they're paying $1,850 for one side for rent and the other side's paying $2,150. The one at $2,150 isn't hugely off of market, but the one at $1,850 is. Then we're talking about, hey, her lease is over in 60 days at that point. So I'm like, I don't care if she renews or not. Doesn't really make a difference to me, but you can bet your ass she's going to get binder strategied for sure. 1,000%, right, D? Like she's going to get binder strategied because I can't be that far under market in a market tenant type of situation. So we go through the process. So at a minimum, I know I'm not going to be $1,850 and $2,150. I know I'm going to be $2,150 and $2,150 worst case scenario, but I know the market. I know the market because I run my rent box, not just because I have tons of units in the market. Sure, that helps certainly. But if you don't have any units in the market, you can still build a rent box. And when you build a rent box, that tells you exactly what the income is that you can get based on the level of the asset that you're going to acquire. Now, in looking at this, I say, hey, this thing's got a lot of amenities. Dion and I agree on a lot of things like, making sure that you have washer and dryer. And if you don't, it better be a 1-bedroom or it better be like a studio. Those, because we have a lot of that stuff and in like the downtown area where nobody has washers and dryers. So as we're going through that process and as we're kind of figuring those things out, we're like, hey, the place has washer dryer. It has a deck out back. It has a yard. It has off-street parking. It's right downtown. It has every amenity, has all 6 of the amenities that you want to be in this downtown corridor. So I'm looking at the numbers and I'm just saying, hey, the guy can be right across the way and they're getting $2,900 for a newer building, not a brand new building, but a newer building. And I'm like, I can be reduce from the premium that he's charging. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like we can put it out there for $2,400. Now everyone's doing the math based on 18. Again, this is where people are flawed in how they manage deals. $1,850 because that's what the rent is right then, even though the rent's going to be gone in a month or two. The idea is you have your rent box, you know exactly what the value of that asset is in the market. So I know what the value of the market rent is. I know what the value of the building is based on the market rent. Comps, I don't really care that much about. I care about it from a getting a mortgage approved perspective, but I don't care about it for really much of any other reason. Because for me, when I buy an income producing asset, I'm putting money in to then get an annuity out, to get a stream of revenue out. So those are the things that I care about, and those are the things that I want to know, even though it has nothing to do with the actual value of the property. I'm buying revenue streams. That's what I'm buying. That's why a lot of guys like the commercial side, because they say I buy it, the rents are $1,000. And so here's what I'm going to do because I'm buying it and the rents are $1,000. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise all of them. I'm going to do a little bit of work and raise them all to 1,400. And that's how they then create value, because then that's the multiplier used to figure out the value of the asset. It's not driven like that on the residential side. However, that's where you have the unique and rare opportunity to be buying assets like this that you can then vastly increase the rent over a shorter period of time, but it's based on comp. And so it's keeping that value of that asset down is the other comps in the market. That's what's keeping the value of the asset down, is the other comps in the market, because they also had low rents, but they also need to work on the house or whatever. So when we looked at this house, we recognized that the roof had been done. We recognized that the landscaping had been done. We recognized that there had been a lot of work that had gotten taken care of in this building. So what was really left? None of the big stuff. They'd all been rehabbed. I mean, there's one kitchen that hasn't been redone, but last I heard, I do kitchens. And so I can probably get that done pretty inexpensively. My guess is about $5,000 I can do that kitchen for based on what I know. So again, as we're looking at this situation, the great news, that girl moved out. She's officially out today. I had showings today. I did them myself because I knew a couple of the people that wanted to see it. And yeah, I can report to you $2,400. $2,400 is what I got for that unit. and they carry all expenses. So now just imagine, and I was making at 1850, I was making almost $1,000 a month on the building. Well, guess what happened? That entire $650 all goes right to the bottom line. $650 all right to the bottom line. So now I'm making $1,650 on a duplex that I've got now $200,000 of equity. And it sold for $170,000 less than another building that has one more bedroom. But mine's actually in a decent part of town and theirs isn't. So this isn't, hey, look at me, I'm so awesome. You guys already know this. The reason why we're talking about this is because I don't believe in most markets you're going to create deals like that off of the MLS. So deals not on the MLS, making sure that you're doing the marketing and doing some sort of wholesaling, and working with wholesalers and making sure that all of the agents in town, like Kyle Dorn did, making sure all the agents in the town know exactly who you are, exactly what you're doing, leaving no stone unturned. You want to be the creator of your next deal, not the market, because then you're subject to whatever the market's going to produce. And then you have instant built-in competition. It's not deals that you want. So the second thing is you're networking. You're talking to all these people, having all these conversations. You're in other landlord groups because other landlords are going to tire out. Maybe they have 2 and they're just kind of, I'm done. Or maybe they have 20. I have one guy who has 20, but he's in his late 60s and he still does a lot of his own work. His idea is going to be, he wants to get out. I'm going to buy all of his properties. I'm going to buy them all. It's 20 buildings. I don't know that I want them anymore, but I might buy all 20 of them, do some sort of seller financing deal with him and sell some of mine off and keep some of his, and just go, yeah, you know what? I've got my assets where I want them, but quite frankly, like, let's get them out the door and let's just do these for the next, 20 years or whatever, and just get rid of some of my assets that have a ton of equity sitting in them. Even if market's down, I don't care. It doesn't matter because it's going to be dollar for dollar, like an exchange. So the second thing is that networking piece. And what's the third piece? The third piece is understanding your rent box, understanding exactly what the market is on the asset that you're going to be acquiring. So you make sure that you know exactly what your competition is in the market, exactly who you're competing against, what you're competing against, the quality of what you're competing against. These are the magic things that happen that ensure you're in the position where you best understand your market, the assets that you're acquiring, and what you're going to do with those assets when you actually have acquired them. What's your actual return going to be? Guys, every single person in this chat would be thrilled to make $1,000 a month on a duplex. I would be thrilled. I was thrilled enough that I was buying it. And I knew that there was upside and I thought that there was some upside, but did I think that there was 16, 15 upside? No, probably not. But the good news is knowing how fast I rented that unit, right? Like this, knowing how fast that unit rented. And that's not what our market is right now. Our market's not this rocket ship, super fast, everything rents. We've got, I think, 2 units that are still available, and one of them has been available for about 4 weeks. But this is what we're talking about. There's Jen Stewart right there. She's talking about those margins. Guys, at the end of the day, you're not looking for only one solution. While we love Jen and Jen's fantastic and she's been an important part of our business, she's not the only door that I go knocking on. She's one of them. But if you don't have that in the mix, if you don't have that where you're having the conversation, guys, it's kind of a problem. Like multiple, like diversification. So one is, networking. Well, she's part of the network. She's on that wholesale side where she can create some of those leads and deals for us, but there's no way that you find deals with this amount of margin in them by looking on the MLS. They just aren't. And factually speaking, if they do make it to the MLS, you're not going to win. You're not going to win the deal. Let's get realistic. You're not going to win the deal. That's not how it works. You're going to have a ton of competition and somebody else is just going to go, yeah, I want that one. That's what happens in my market. There's one of 10 buyers where they could just go, yeah, so I kind of wanted that one. So I did it. So that's what ends up happening. So this is what I would encourage you with. Be finding different paths to get deals on your plate. The guys that really win, the people that win in this business are the ones that say no the most. Probably should have named the stupid video that. Say no the most. But I didn't because I suck at YouTube. But be the one who says no the most. I say no all the time. And then we talk about the wins. But I tell you, I say no so often. You would think I was I won't say that reference. I kind of want to say that reference. I'm going to say that reference. You would think that I was like a high school girl, like with, a bunch of dorks trying to ask me out with how often I say no. But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So often I say no. I say no more than anybody else I know. And it's because the deal flow is dumb. The deal flow is dumb. There's so many deals from so many different angles. Jen's a part of that solution. My agents are another part of that solution. My rental agents are another part of that solution. The courts are another part of that solution. Attorneys are another part of that solution. This is all the stuff that we teach in the course and how to do all of those things. And then when you have 7 or 8 or 9 different ways of deals coming in the door, that's going to be what sets you apart. That's going to be what puts you in a much better spot. So I would strongly encourage you guys, listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to what I'm saying. I don't care. I'll say no to you too. I say no all the time, but I get to say yes. And when I say yes, I make a lot of money. And so that's the same thing that I want for you guys. And I'm not lucky. It's not just my market. These opportunities are in every market. The issue is you haven't found the way that you're going to get the most deals. What's really funny is if you look at it, off-market deals, referral deals, wholesale deals. There was one MLS deal that I think crept its way in there. Then another off-market deal. So 5 deals, only 1 was MLS, but 4 out of the 5 were not. And big surprise, you tell me which were the biggest winners. You tell me which ones make the most money. It wasn't the MLS deal. The MLS deal actually, quite frankly, kind of sucked. But I was stuck with a 1031 exchange. And it sucked compared to my other deals, but it was fine. It was still a deal that I'll make double digits on. But I don't love the deal. Honestly, the deal kind of sucks. I've got other deals that are just better. And I'd rather do those deals. Frankly speaking, I'd just rather do those deals. So that's for what it's worth. What I would tell you is that's what you guys need to work on. Those are the 3 things. It is finding an option other than MLS, making sure that you're creating as many of those opportunities for yourself as you possibly can. Understand how to network and make sure that you're creating all of those different relationships. So when something comes up, you get the phone call. And the third thing, and make sure people have your phone number. Digital business card, just like I've taught you guys 1,000 times. You meet somebody, just go, yeah, let me give you my information. Tap their phone, boom, they have it all. It's not this big, long, stupid conversation. Yeah, let me get your information. Okay, you got my information on your phone. Now what are you going to do? You're not going to remember me. You will if I hit you with my digital business card, because you're going to remember the digital business card moment. Guys, I'm telling you, this isn't my first rodeo. So, and the last thing is a rent box. Understanding exactly what those units are worth, because if they're max top of market and the numbers are already tight, then that's probably not the right deal for you. So anyway, let's jump into the questions. Appreciate you guys letting me give you the rant. That one was about 20 minutes or so, but I wanted to just hit you between the eyes and just give you facts. Because that's what we do here. Leave your feelings at the door. I'm gonna take, is that mine? Which one is, I don't know which one of these. Oh, it wasn't that one. That one's flat. Oh, that's much better, but not really. Because it's kind of warm. All right. Wade Wong, how are you, sir? Jason Callis-Better, good to see you. Dion, how you doing, pal? Dividend Dave, sup? Hey, Dividend Dave. Good to see you, Coster. Great evening, everyone. Good evening, Matt and everyone. Wealth Building Journey. Thanks. Hey, Hyder. Good to see you, Chester. Good to see you. Kyle Dorn. Hey, all. Matt, you sound much better. Yeah, I feel better. Still have a little bit of the congestion, but I think it's allergies. Allergies are a little bit new to me. BuzzTune, good to see you, sir. Mikey. Summertime Santa, thank you for all the recommendations about EA. I just managed to land Bob Langworthy main bean counters, and I would say that it's thanks to you. Summertime Santa, awesome. Congratulations. It's tough to get on his client roster. It's really hard. It's really hard. So congratulations to you. I'm glad you made it. But yeah, the EA thing, I'm telling you, worth its weight in gold. We actually did get audited, and having him on board saved us tens of thousands of dollars. Obviously we passed the audit without any issue. But it's because I know that he does it right. I know that he's conservative like we are. We're not out there trying to write everything under the sun off. But yeah, it's again, just a super awesome welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Paul Lewis, how are you, sir? Hyder, yep, smoke that thumbs up button like Cheech and Chong. Thank you, my friend. Cracked Canvas, appreciate you, new to the community, my friend. Fantastic comments on the videos. I appreciate you. I think we're cut from the same cloth to a certain degree, although mine probably quite a bit bigger. But I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to watch and make yourself part of the community. We like vocal parts of the community because we all want to iron sharpen iron. We all want to get better. Mr. Farinelli, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Let's see. Kyle Dorn. Yep. Seeing stupid prices almost doubled since September in C- to D areas, going pending with for out-of-state investors. Yep. Talked to quite a few of them. They're buying because they hit the 1% rule. Morons. Like, come on, dude. What is wrong with people? Like, just honest to God, the 1% rule. I would say send them to my course, but that's not going to help you. That will hurt you. Ninja Vanish, good to see you. Robert Fairley, $4,500 for a mortgage. Not even that in rent. Yeah, it's not even close. I know why this is happening in an REI meetup this month, but cash flow is not the only way to get rich, is the mindset. Yeah, they're stupid. Yeah, that's stupid. That's dumb. It's not the only way to get rich. You're dumb. You're making excuses and being lazy. Not you, Robert Farinelli, but thank you for reporting back. They're being stupid. They're being stupid. They're being haphazard, and I will buy those properties. Actually, I won't, because they're probably in Manchester, and you can buy those properties. But they'll likely, the guys that are buying for appreciation on the coast, I'm going to eat their lunch. Oh my word, am I going to eat their lunch? It's just not even funny. It's just ridiculous. Buying for appreciation, those dipsticks. Stuff is not going to be markedly higher in the next 2 or 3 years. It just isn't. I don't believe that it is. And more importantly, rents are certainly not going to be that much higher in the next few months, in the next couple of years. That's just not going to happen. So I will be more than happy to watch them try and get appreciation. And a house has to go up just for you to break even, right? Just for you to break even. It usually has to go up 10%. Pucker up, Buttercup. This is going to hurt. Liz. Hey there, everyone. Hi, Liz. Matt, just got another one under contract. Congratulations to you, Kyle Dorn. Went back to Iowa last week and attended eviction court just to watch. That's my man. By the way, what we recommend in the course is we want you going to eviction court. It's imperative. Ended up meeting a motivated landlord who just won his eviction, closing on the 23rd. Imagine that. There's another way, like what we teach about in the course. There are 1,000 different ways to get deals. There's another way. I've gotten a deal this way as well in the past. Worth its weight in gold. He's getting it for a great price. Otherwise, he wouldn't be closing. All-nighter. Those are financializing an asset with less scrutiny than an investor looking for margin, in my opinion. It's exactly right. People that are sitting there looking at it going, well, I'm just looking for appreciation, and appreciation is going to bail me out. And yeah, hey, guys, in 2008 to 2012, did properties appreciate? In most markets, they did not. At best, in those markets, you got a flat line. At best. So what happens if you need to sell in 5 years? What happens in 7? It took some markets 14 years to return to the 2007 highs. 14 years. That's 2021 it took them before they got to the 2001 highs, or 2008, 2007 highs. Guys, that doesn't work. It's a stupid strategy. It's dumb. It's dumb. I will go up against anybody right now doing an appreciation play, and I'll beat them every time. Every single time. it doesn't work long term. It just does not. It only works super long term. But if you need to sell, which many people have needed to sell, many people have had to sell in that 5-year period. Well, guess what? Everything was down in that 5-year period. 28.7%, 28.9% is what the entire nation went down. But let's just say your market was down 20. Well, you had to make 10 in order to even break even. Well, bad news, you're down 20, but then you got to make 10. Well, it took 14 years in some areas for the market to even come back. Then it came back. Then you still got to make 10 more points. But then after that amount of time, the only way that you're able to sell is because you were paying down debt all that time. Well, the problem is you were chipping money in because you were buying for appreciation. What a dumb idea. Honest to God. Like, it's math. It's math. My 7-year-old knows how to do that math. Kyle Dorn, who would ever thought to find a motivated seller in eviction court? Tell you, everywhere, my man. Everywhere. Like I said, you go to the eviction court, you listen, you see the attorneys. But again, this is part of the networking thing that we talk about. You always want to be around other landlords that are doing what you're doing. That's where you want to be consistently. Anyway, I digress. Still a little stuffy, yeah. See, still a little stuffy. Not the best. Not the best. Robert Farinelli, people being trained that negative cash flow is no problem because of amortization, appreciation, and tax benefits, so it's okay to have negative cash flow. They are being taught that, and it's just completely moronic. It just is. It's stupid. It's just completely stupid. Sorry, you don't like it. Tough. I've been doing this for 24 years, and I can tell you, anybody that's been doing this for only 14 years has only seen appreciation in their assets. That's the problem. Everybody thinks that it's like the last 14 years. So you think that you're going to make the appreciation on your assets just like everybody else has for all this time. That's not how it works, guys. It's just not how it works. People are going to get their clocks cleaned. Promise. Promise, promise. People are going to get their clocks cleaned. Because they're going to end up having to sell an asset. And here's the crazy part. They're going to have to literally come up with money. They're going to have to come up with money to sell their assets. That doesn't work. People can't do it, especially because a lot of times they borrowed the money to go buy the asset. Like, come on, man. Like, is it really that hard? Oh, math. Liz, Matt, do you study how the appraisers think and what they consider value? Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do, Liz. That's what a lot of what I talk about in the boot camp is understanding exactly what the appraisers, are trying to do and trying to accomplish. That. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, we do. So, one of the things, that's why we had looked at getting, potentially an appraiser on the boot camp. We're actually going to have one in the course because we're going to start doing some stuff in the course that's outside of boot camp, but we're going to get an appraisal interview with them. And the reason that we want to get an appraisal interview is for obvious reasons. If we can get an appraisal interview, we can actually, you guys can hear exactly what the appraisers are looking at. And what they're looking at is amenities, but then they're looking at how that then compares to the other stuff. That's the concept behind the rent box, is it's basically an appraisal for rents. That's why it's so valuable. So yeah. So what they're looking for is, they're going to talk a little bit about location, but not a ton. It's more like most locations are kind of, all the same, unless it's like a really bad neighborhood. And then they might cite that it's a bad neighborhood. But even then, that's where, that's usually why it's carrying the value that it's carrying, or why it's selling for what it's selling for. Excuse me. 1 second. I love it when my landscaper is sending me text messages at 9:00 at night. And I'm not being facetious. I'm actually being serious. This guy's passionate. I'll tell you. And again, getting on the same page with the guys that are trying to build their businesses, you find the guys that are motivated, that are building their business. This is one of the things that we teach in the course. You find guys that are motivated, trying to build their businesses, and they will give you a better deal because they recognize that they want to grow with you. And you can tell them, I can grow faster if you're just reasonably priced. And I get that it might feel tight for you, and I get you won't make as much money off of me, but I'm going to give you volume, and I'm going to make sure that I get other people over to you. We agreed on contract with this landscaping company. We gave them all of our business, all of it, all 53 buildings of business. We gave it all to them. And they blew me away with their proposal because he said, your relationship and the relationship with you means something to me. You're going to let me advertise and have signs in front of three or four of the buildings. Guys, this is, I mean, guys, it's just killer. Having those relationships, understanding that everybody can win from that stuff. Again, it's critical. All-nighter. I may have to employ Kyle's technique. I want to sit on cases anyway. Yeah, it's what we teach in the course. You haven't taken the course, but this is what we tell you to do. We want you to sit in court. We want you to see how the judge is working. We want you to see how the other attorneys are working, but you're going to be around other landlords. I mean, top 3 things that you guys absolutely should be doing because they're free of charge. You belong to some local REI, so you make sure that you're a part of that. You call all the agents that you can possibly call that have sold anything small, multifamily, or whatever you're trying to target. All of them know me. All of them know who I am, and all of them know what I have. And the third thing that we do is, on the court stuff, I still go sit in court now. I still go sit there now because it's free. Cost me nothing. The judge literally looked at me and she goes, do you have something in front of me today? I said, I don't. She's like, oh. I said, I'm just here to watch. She goes, okay. And that was it. So she appreciated, I can tell you, I got it in front of her as a judge, but again, you can tell that she appreciates somebody seeking and trying to learn. And that's the other thing too. A lot of the places where we are landlords do not have 1,000 judges that do this stuff. There might be 2 or 3 in the rotation. Have them see you, have them be familiar with their face. And then when you go and you have a case before them, there's a familiarity there. And it's not saying that you get favoritism, but there's familiarity there. And when you handle yourself the right way in a case, they will then associate that familiarity with a positive, with positive thinking. It happens. Big Hill. Hey, ANH. Okay. Hey, ANH. I had class with a guy that sat in divorce court, that his wife's attorney was in. Yep. It threw her attorney off because he was learning how he fought. 1,000%. Absolutely. Of course. That's absolutely how we do things. That's absolutely. I want to know exactly what my competition is doing. And I get to learn for free. I knew that there was an attorney that was going to go up against me in one of these cases. I wanted to see how they fought. 1,000% right. 1,000% right. That's exactly right. Without a doubt. That's the winning strategy for sure. Hold on one sec. Just need to make sure this isn't urgent. Sometimes agents drive me bonkers, even when they're my own agent. Kyle Dorn, met with housing while I was out there, had a place available, asked if they had anyone with expiration of voucher, sent people my way, selected one, and onboarding now. Imagine that. Where'd you learn that, Kyle? This is what I'm telling you guys. In the community, of the community, for the community. It's easy. This is not a really hard thing to do, but there's all these different steps that don't occur to anybody else that I've created the playbook for. It's all there. Kyle Dorn, also, FYI, Housing informed me nationwide they are now going from HQS inspection to a new inspection criteria called Inspire. Yeah, I know, another stupid name. Inspection checklist on HUD in case anybody wants to see it, becoming more strict. Yeah, what's going to end up happening is they're going to start losing a lot of landlords. They're going to start losing all the slumlords. Now, the idea is that they think that that's a good thing. The fact of the matter is that those are the only people that want to rent to them because they don't want, in many areas, Section 8 isn't even close to the highest rent. In our area, it's between 15 and 20% less than the market. So that's why in many cases that won't make sense. Jen Stewart, I'm here for the margins. Margins are necessary for business. Seen too many investors over the years go bankrupt because then they buy too high and then get in the wrong tenant. That's exactly right. Or they buy for appreciation instead of for cash flow. Troy Roberts had a question. I got a maintenance question. You can hit me with it. You can hit me with a question too. The Scorpion 360, let's hit the like button. Thanks for all the good content. It's free. Thank you, Scorpion 360. And you're exactly right. It is free. Troy Roberts says, I've been providing pest control for the last 15 years on a property because I had a roach and rodent issue. Now issue is done. Lease has that tenants are responsible for pest control after 10 days. I'm debating of canceling service to save $45 a month. Yeah, absolutely. If there shouldn't be an ongoing issue that's that much of an ongoing issue, it should have been addressed. There can't be this level of an issue. The idea about pest control is nipping it in the bud. So once you've addressed a cockroach issue, once you've addressed a bed bug issue, once you've addressed a rat issue properly, those are now gone. And the only way that they come back is if a tenant brings them back or gets them back. So yeah, that's absolutely not something I'm paying for anymore, for sure. But worrying about infestation coming back because of the area. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I want to hire a company that actually knows what they're doing and does it right. And for any of that stuff, you create the perimeter outside the house by sprays and things like that. And if it's, hey, this is the spray that you need to use to do that, then you get the spray and you do that. And if it's a remote area, then you have a handyman that's when they're there doing whatever, blah, 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 every 4 to 6 weeks. Hey, can you just spray that for me? That type of thing. That's what I'd be doing. Yep. Kyle Dorn, everyone, please look into BNI, Business Networking International. Yeah, BNI kind of sucks, though. I mean, in a lot of places, it costs money. In a lot of places, it's a lot of blowhards. There are just a lot of blowhards in that business. Almost every small business owner buys into that to start. Almost every single one buys into that to start so they can then start networking and building their business. That's what BNI counts on. The fact of the matter is very often they have very little to offer you. Fact. Because they are still pulling their head out of their ass of exactly how they're going to run their business. So it's another option, but usually it's not free. Usually there's some costs associated with it. And so I highly recommend the other 3 options that I gave you because they are, in fact, free. Only one rule is one person in each business. Guess who will be the only investor? Yeah, and again, I think the challenge is that keeps the group artificially small, right? Which is fine. But then it's not really networking. You're paying for a cost. And then once you've gotten into that group, you look around and you go, yeah, there's 10 guys in this room and 3 of them are jackasses and 5 of them I would never do business with because, I'm never going to need their services. And then maybe there's 2, but once you have those couple, here's what I can tell you. The worst experiences that I've ever heard landlords have been from a BNI. Hands down. They've hired handymen. They're like, well, they're in my BNI group. They've hired attorneys. Well, they're in my BNI group. They've hired chiropractors. Well, they were in my BNI group. Some of the worst experiences I've heard are in BNI. So just proceed with caution. Andres Matos. Hi, Matt. When you say call real estate agents to get deals, you mean any agent, and how can I find them? Thank you. Look up in the MLS what exactly it is that you're trying to buy. Look at all the brokers that have sold something like that in the last 6 months, and their name is all over Zillow. It's all over Redfin. Their information's right there, and you just make a list. Here's all the people, and yeah, it has to be done manually. But make a list. Here's all the people, or even talk to your agent and say, hey, can you show me a list? Can you give me a list of what my buy box is? Can you give me a list of everything that's sold in the last 6 months or everything that's sold in the last year? The person who bought it and the person who, the agent who bought it and the agent who closed it or listed it, they're going to be on there. And then you start making phone calls. Paul Lewis, I have a Section 8 tenant that was paying $2,600, 5-bedroom. I increased the rent to $3,300 and it was approved by Housing Authority. Tenant's oldest child moved out and now she only qualifies for a 4-bedroom. Sounds right. Mm-hmm. The portion she now has to pay is $1,400 and she says she can't pay it. Would you come back to $2,700 or $2,800 or find a new tenant? The challenge that you're going to have is on a 5-bedroom. There aren't very many vouchers out there for that. I don't know what your market rate is. I don't know what your market rate is for a 4 or a 5-bedroom. So I would be just doing the analysis, hey, penny saved is a penny earned, and it makes more sense to keep her in that unit because, Section 8 pays and continues to pay. Or you look at it and you go, yeah, I mean, I can actually get 3,200 and I don't want to give up $500 a month. And then in that case, I'll let her know, then I just can't renew your lease. The other thing that I would be doing too is I would be talking to Section 8, asking them if they have any 5-bedroom tenants. That's what I did. That's how I found my 5-bedroom tenants. Robert, I know you weren't talking for me instead. I am talking to FX Bruton on Monday to make my already great Allenstown deal a grand slam. There you go. FX is the best. He's the best in the business at what he does. Hey, Johnny Cashflow Ramirez. Good to see you, pal. Sup, real estate freaks. Dennis D. Matt sent you an email. If you get a chance, thanks for spending time with us. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a peek. Just so you guys know, May sucks for me. May is the worst month of the year for me. We have the most rental turnovers and we have the most projects going on because we always have stuff that we have to do in those units. So May and June, they kind of suck. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, don't cry for me, Argentina. I'll be fine. But these are the two busiest months for me a year because we purposely put most of our leases here at this time because it's the easiest for us to get rentals without getting shitty tenants. Jennifer says, yes, New Hampshire, I was calling in 2019 doing acquisitions. Lots of folks have been underwater for 10 years. It's exactly right. Exactly right. There were tons of people. In fact, I was one of them on some of my assets. Now, they were cash flowing, which was good. The rents had gone up in that time, but the values hadn't caught up in that time. And so, I had one building that I think I sold in 2018 or 2019, and I think I sold it for what I bought it for in 06 or 07. It was right around that. But the difference is with having the 12-year pay down, I was able to walk away with $80,000 or $90,000. And it was just, hey, I need to walk on this stupid deal. I can take the 80 grand. I can put it in something else. Now that 80 grand, I went out and I bought another duplex, but I only bought that duplex for $350. Now that duplex is worth $650. But more importantly was the return that I'm getting on that capital. That's what mattered the most. So yeah, in that particular case, yeah, I mean, we lost, we didn't lose, we lost money sort of, but we lost money, I guess, but you just have to pull the deal out. Dion, all that networking got you sick. The MLS is germ-free. Dion's not wrong there. He's 100% right. MLS is germ-free. It is germ-free. He's not wrong. Off-market deals are sick. Yeah, Robert can talk about it too. He closed on a deal that he was doing in boot camp. In Allenstown, 6 houses down the street. 3 months later, similar duplex sold for $465. Expect can't turn it into a triplex like mine. Just made $50K by buying off market. Buy off market, finding deals, making calls, creating networking opportunities, not buying off of the MLS. Troy Roberts. Matt. Cottonwoods here in Washington are jacking my allergies up. I sound like you. Yeah. It's weird. I'm not used to it, so it's a weird thing for me. Rankin Projects, good to see you. What does your market look like? Michigan is somewhat crazy right now on MLS anyway. I mean, MLS is still is buying retail. Stuff that, duplexes they continue to hover right around the same record numbers. Because they have return. That's the big thing, is that they have return on capital. Single family houses, above $500,000, they sit for quite a while. People are doing price reductions. $300,000 and $400,000 houses, largely speaking, fly off the market pretty quickly. But yeah, that's what the market looks like. And rental market's it's slower than it normally is. We still did a bunch, as you heard, we've done a bunch of price increases, but we have 2 units right now that I would say, are they struggling? I'd say one of the units is struggling to get the number that we got previously, but we'll lower the number if we need to. Wallford Rentals. Hi. Good to see you. Robert Finelli. So someone just paid $465 for a duplex, and I will hopefully have a triplex for $450 all in. It's because you bought off market. Learned that in the boot camp. It's killer. It's good you don't dip and spit into a root beer can. That's true, Dennis. I don't dip. Kyle Dorn, we are also lucky for Matt doing this. I'm so tired of seeking cocky gurus, just bad actors doing terrible deals. And on top of that, teaching people when they just started a year ago and are backwards. Kyle, man, I appreciate you saying that. Kyle was a great student to his credit. Just was. He was a great student, listened, would, come in with ideas, but when we could show factually that there were fractures in that plan, he adapted. And so now he's off and running. He's doing all this stuff. We talk about it, but he's practicing it. He's doing it in the real world. He's closed a bunch of deals since his boot camp. He's making more money than he's ever made before doing the real estate thing. And all he's doing is putting into practice things that sadly I spent a decade having to learn and then master, but he's just picked up with what I've done and being innovative. Like, I haven't done a ton of deals with like I've done one deal by getting a deal that was through like an eviction court process where the landlord was just like, I'm done. I'm freaking done. But I've done it in death. I've done it in bankruptcy. I've done it through court. I've done it through the court. I've done it through probate. You name it. Like I've done it because I've done multiple deals because somebody saw me speak at an event. And not like a real estate investment event, like a town hall type of thing, right? To talk about a project. I'm telling you, amazing. Robert Fairley, but I am no longer allowed to do off-market deals. That 1-for-1 record on cold calls is far more important than great deals. No, it's not. Stop that. Looks like it's back to the MLS for me. You know that's not true. Flavio, good to see you, my friend. I'm switching over to self-management. Julie Anderson, it's rough. Former manager isn't happy, completely uncooperative. Found out he's been embezzling and money laundering through my properties. Not surprising at all, Julie. Take the course. I know you bought it. Take the course. Run through it. Understand how to sell. It's going to be a heavy lift to get up and on all the systems. But once you do, you're managing from your phone. Yeah, you're managing from your phone. Jen, every time I go to court just to watch, the bailiff will come and talk to me and ask me why I'm there. Yeah, all nighter. I'm guessing it's a male bailiff. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it is. Let's see. Troy Roberts, Matt, don't forget to announce that you and Dion will be on Sundays or at Zoom call. Yes, we will. 11 a.m. Eastern time, Dion and I will be on the Zoom call in school. So if you guys are in the school community, Dion and I, Mike asked us and we're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So we're happy to do it. And you can come ask us your questions there too. Although we do our lives every week, so you can always ask us questions. Kyle Dorn, that's rough, Julie. Yep, that's okay. Stay positive. Things will happen. Yep, you know what to do. You got this. Yeah, that's exactly right, Kyle. The best part is that she's got the course. It's there. I came off of property managers too when I found out they were completely ripping me off, giving me bad tenants. Dude, guys, they were making my life a nightmare. A nightmare. It's so happy that I got away from them. So happy. Jack Stewart, now listening to Matt in squirrel mode. That's enjoyable. I'm enjoyable in any mode. Samuel put in an offer yesterday. They countered, hoping we can meet in the middle. Fantastic. Samuel, what I would do is, so I wouldn't instantly go to meet in the middle. What I would do is try to understand, just follow up and ask again, what are the 3 most important things to them? Then you can better fine tune your offer. Now that you're in negotiations, they've countered something and you can have your agent ask, so for what reason, what reason did they counter at that? It's not a wrong thing to ask. Why did they counter at that? Who knows? The agent might know the answer. They also might not know the answer. A lot of agents suck, as we've talked about, but it's always worth the ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. You will uncover so much more asking questions. Grumpy Contractor REI, driving back from the real estate properties so I can just go back to work on the removal projects. Thanks for everything. You're very welcome, Grumpy Contractor. Good to see you, Jim. And then Key, hello everyone. Hi Key, good to have you. Good to see you. So yeah, we'll probably not go the full hour and a half tonight. Again, you can hear the voices already starting to crack. And I've got my lovely 6-year-old daughter's birthday on Sunday. She's already turned 6, but that's her party for it with all of her friends. So I know that there'll be shouting involved at that party because that's how we do it. Kyle Dorn, give us the info again for your interview you're doing next week and something on. Yeah. So the Raging Tomato, that was something else I was going to cover with you guys. The Raging Tomato. You guys, I wouldn't recommend that you watch debates before mine. You can if you want, but it's called The Raging Tomato. There is an amazing, I guess, host / arbitrator / moderator. Her name is Sarah. But The Raging Tomato, you can watch there. It gets pretty unruly. I will caution you. There is lots of cursing. There is lots of negative talk. There is lots of screaming. There is lots of insulting. It is a true Roman Colosseum for words. I have no problem absolutely mic dropping on one face after another. The fact of the matter is I'm in there. Lots of morons that think they're smart too. Oh man, Dennis, you nailed it. Dennis said it better than I just did. There's lots of people in there that are complete morons that think they're really super smart. Like there's this one douchebag who all he does is Google shit. I got bad news, bro. Your second year in college, when you get out of college, your best skill can't be, I know how to Google shit. Can't be that. They're going to have AI that will replace you. Like it's not hard. So I would encourage you guys to watch it. It is the Colosseum. It is cursing. I will be mean. I will be nasty. I will be very insulting because I just have no tolerance for stupid. And they come at me like there's been a number of highly charged tirades. So for Zoob, I already told him not to attend because that gives him agita that makes him anxious that he doesn't do well in those environments, which is good because he's a nice guy. And Dion, it's not really his bag, baby, because Dion is steady water, but man, he certainly can get pissed off. Not that I've actually seen it, but we've talked we've had stories, we've had story time. But me, it is what it is. Like if they think they're getting under my skin, I just yell all the time. Like you're not proving your point. You're a dummy. And the best part is that with no experience, there was this one guy, he kept on saying, well, I read. I said, congratulations on knowing how to read. Doesn't mean you actually have any level of comprehension about the topic, nor have you experienced it. Whereas I have. I've actually done it for 20 years. So for you to have any level of an opinion is kind of a punchline joke, just like you are. That's a little sampling, a vanilla version of what it's like. But these are the kind of people that end up having conversations and throwing themselves in. Where Sarah does an amazing job is that she actually lets people get into it and have those conversations. But yeah, that's exactly it. Hyder got it too, which is I watched some documentaries that made me an expert. Now I watch documentaries. I love to learn, but I don't take the documentary as gospel because that's told through the eyes of one person. So I can appreciate The Big Short and that as a movie that was told through the eyes of one person. It's not necessarily completely accurate. It just isn't. I love the movie, but there are absolutely parts that were fictionalized and that are completely fake that didn't really actually happen. And some things that happened completely differently. They placed no blame on the liars that were getting loans that were giving stated income. They placed no blame on them. They placed all the blame on the Wall Street banks. It's not how it was. It was 3 to tango. The Wall Street banks were buying all the crap. They were buying all the debt, but it was because it was rated by the agencies as actually being good debt. And Wall Street was then just basically selling it off to each other and doing this big nasty thing. But it's because all these fake ratings were on all this paper. And the mortgage brokers, they were just so predatory. No, they would tell the people, all you need to do is tell me what you make. The person wasn't like, oh, no, I better be honest. No, they were liars too. They were like, that's why they called them liar loans. The mortgage broker was lying, but so was the actual person getting the loan. The person actually getting the loan was an absolute liar too. They would do something called stated income. Stated income is I make $120,000 a year. That's stated income. It wasn't verified. It wasn't double checked. It was just I make $120,000 a year. Well, guess what? Do they allow for that now? No, because it was made illegal. That was one of the provisions that Billy Boy Clinton decided to take out. And that's where the guys started going, whoa, wait a second. We only need to get stated income. Factually, that's what happened. So when you only need stated income, now you're playing to people's lowest common denominator, which is if you want a house, all you got to do is lie. And these are the same people that were living paycheck to paychecks. And so generally speaking, they were pretty stupid when it came to understanding finances, how it works, and the fact that my teaser loan at 2% is going to go to 7%. And then it's 3 times the cost, and I'm not going to be able to afford my loan. And so now I'm going to lose my house in foreclosure. So don't think for 1 second that it was Wall Street. It was Wall Street. It was the ratings companies. It was the brokers. And it was the people trying to buy houses with liar loans that weren't being honest. They factually were not being honest. And that's why they lost their homes. So for what it's worth, Jason Calasabetta knows how to Google shit. You're exactly right. Casey, I know you can be very, very mean for sure. Sorry. Like sometimes it's a fist fight, and when you're a warrior in battle, and I look at words, that's a war. If somebody's going to sit there and lie, I know that somebody listening to that could make an life altering decision based on someone trying to win an argument as opposed to being truthful and honest and transparent. So for me, I always want to be truthful, honest, and transparent, tell you exactly the way it is, exactly the situation, and exactly how I handled it. And then you decide if you would handle it the same way or some way different. I don't begrudge you handling it some other way or some different way. That's fine. Plenty of people, other people are successful. Dion's successful. Mike's successful. We've done things differently. But the way that I did it and the results that I got were based on how I did it. So it's clearly a pretty decent model. And I make more margin than anybody I know. My properties print margin. Most deals for me year 2 make well into the 20s. Most. In fact, if not all. It's because we know a little bit about a little bit. That dude from Canada, was reading everything but never lived any of the crap he was talking about. Dennis, you're exactly right. He just kept on spouting off, and I was like, no, you're disqualified. You're Canadian. He's like, how does that disqualify me? Because you haven't lived any of it, you doofus. You watched 2 documentaries. Well, I read. Well, I watched. Well, I read. Well, I watched. Reading something doesn't mean you studied it enough to become an authority on it. Doing something. That's why they call it the 10,000 hour rule. That's why they call it that. 10,000 hours. Because what they're counting on is that you've done it for 5 years. If you've done something for 5 years, then you're then actually considered knowledgeable and an expert in the field. Well, imagine if you've done something for 24 years. One would say that you're not only elite at those things, especially when the numbers start to bear it out, but bigger and even more so than that, there's many, many, many more strategies that you've tried, you've executed on, and you know what the wins and losses are there. So, that's why that guy was a total and complete abject clown, why I made fun of him. Because he was an idiot. Key, super important. Yeah. It's just unbelievably important. So AI is obviously a big thing. I sold RPA and AI for 2 decades. So I know a little bit about that. So when I'm sitting there having a conversation talking about hospitals, they're like, well, but that's, I did this once. And I go, guys, I worked with CFOs of 7 of the 10 largest health systems in the entire country over the period of a 17-year career. Yeah, I know a little bit more about hospitals than you do, even though you read something on the internet. And they're like, well, all those people getting turned away. People don't get turned away at hospitals. They don't. You're a liar. Just a liar. The way it goes. Yes, there's bankruptcies. Yes. And usually when there's bankruptcies, it's because you do have 401ks, you do have other assets in your name. And when you have those things, or when you have a good job that actually provides income, they're willing to work on a payment plan, and they're willing to even reduce the price, but they're not willing to give it to you for nothing. That's how it goes. Dion Financial Freedom, like to see some support from that on the Raging Tomato. Will be some anti-capitalist with emotion-based arguments. Dion's exactly right. There will be emotion-based arguments, and there will be many silly things said. Sucks I won't be able to make the live while in Alaska. I understand. Financial Firefighter, good to see you, sir. Sorry, Matt, as much as I want to super chat like you were doing last time, but I don't have the funds and the point to Google permaban my account, so I'll try to be quiet. You can feel free. You raise issues. Guys, do your thing, man. Do your thing. You don't have to super chat. You don't. I super chatted because I wanted to support Mike, and so I kept on kind of hammering it because I was just there to support Millennial Mike. So I wanted to make sure that they had topics that were actually germane to what he was there to discuss. Yes, sorry, CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Matt, question, what kind of umbrella policy to cover all? One home is in an LLC, or do you have someone you can recommend? So I actually have State Farm as my umbrella policy holder. Yeah. So all of our stuff is in the trust, and we just basically have them umbrella the trust. All of our policies are in place for our other assets, but then we have the umbrella over that. But we still, there's no displacement for, or no replacement for just having high insurance on these assets. I certainly am in the position where I hope I never have to deal with a big insurance loss. But the good news is that we pay a lot in premiums. Literally at this point, I'm going to say it's a 135,000 bucks a year is what we're paying in insurances for our different assets. And so, yeah, the hope would be that if we had a problem, that it would actually get taken care of. We'll see. I hope it would. Troy Roberts, the real problem with the word vomit snowflakes is that they feel everything has to be made fair to their standards. I totally agree with you. That's exactly the issue. Jeremy, caught the live late replay time. Thanks for the video. Jeremy, appreciate you coming in, hanging out. Welcome to the community. Thanks for hanging out with us. So yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities, but it'll be interesting to see what happens on the Raging Tomato. There's no winning. So just so you guys know, I'm not going there to win. That's not the option. That's not even on the deck. The only option in the arena is to do damage. It's the only option. So because I don't want lies to prevail, for evil to win, all it takes for good men is for good men to do nothing. So I choose to put myself in a situation where, quite frankly, I don't give two rips about any of these people and their stupid snowflake ideas and feelings. And how they read something on the internet once and Donald Trump's a bad guy. Whatever. Okay. Were you around for Clinton? Like, really? Or any of the Clinton iterations or any of the Biden iterations or any of the Obama iterations? Like, everybody takes care of their people when they get into office. That's the way it goes, and so everybody's done that. But I'm not there to argue that. What I'm there to argue is something that I know, and I know it better than everybody else in that room. And so if they want to start, well, I read this, congratulations. It's not how it works. It's not facts. You guys ever read something on the internet that was wrong? That's where these guys are complete morons. They propagate stupid, that's where the whole idea comes from of fake news, because somebody says it and then it's propagated through the idiot chain. It's not actually true. It didn't actually happen. That's not actually how it went. I was actually watching a documentary on Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubin. And, I still had in my head that he was basically considered a pedophile and got caught with a bunch of, child porn. It actually wasn't what happened at all. Wasn't what happened at all. What he actually had was a bunch of antique erotica. And what ended up happening was it was all this noise. He actually pled it down all the way to like paying $100 fine because he had some images that were considered what's the word? They were considered beyond the pale or something like that, but they weren't even kids. They were grown men. So while I don't agree, and that's not something I want to look at, I don't give a rip if he wants to look at that. That's within the privacy of his home. No one was harmed. He didn't hurt anybody, and that guy's life and career was destroyed because that's what he got known as, was a pedophile, and he wasn't one. That's wrong. So I put myself in those positions because I know that I can fight better than most people. So I'm more than happy to understand and get myself in a position and have a conversation. But I told her, I said, you tell me what you want to talk about and I'll tell you whether or not I can talk about it, because I don't talk about things I don't know. Otherwise it's just noise. Sorry, Matt, but people, hold on. Sorry, I did just go down. Okay. Thank you. Let me try and call them. Dang, you were a big stud. Thanks, Key. Yeah, we tried State Farm. We liked their numbers, but we had a good rep. And for that, it's all about having a good rep. Robert Fernandez, sorry, Matt, but if people get nasty with me, I would go into my box live 2008, 2013 mode, which today would be insta perma ban for my Google account. Yeah, probably would. Jason Kalsman, I've been in a couple of Raging Tomatoes mics then. The one you were in visiting, I find them pretty amusing. I might be late on the 5th. Have a work dinner. Yeah, I get it. It's the way it goes. I slept at Holiday Inn once. That's literally what I said to them, Mark. I said to one of the guys, I said, I know more than you because I slept at Holiday Inn last night. Like, that's how stupid their conversation was. Joshua M asks, Matt, how do you come to understand the neighborhood's crime rate? What class of property do you invest in? So I invest in B's and C's. What you want to do is I've actually called, I don't like the crime statistics online because I think that those can be jaded. So what I do is I actually call the police department. I call the police department. I just ask to set up a time to speak with an officer. And I just ask them, I just say, yeah, I'm kind of new to the area. I would like to understand, what are the neighborhoods that you never visit? And then they laugh. And they're like, yeah, we're kind of never over here very often. And then I'm like, okay, what are the ones that you go where it's you and backup that have to go in there to do anything? And then I avoid those areas because I don't want cops constantly in the place. Because if you finally find the right tenant and they're new and they don't know what the area is, guess what happens? They move in and then they start seeing the cops once a week. You're going to get a complaint. They're going to move out and then you're going to be up a creek without a paddle. All-nighter. We all have biases. Morons allow themselves to be controlled by their biases. That's true. Pee-wee was in a movie theater whacking it. That's true. He was. But you know what's really funny? What's really interesting is that, so that did happen, but I think that it was actually an adult movie theater. I've never been, so I don't know, but I would guess, just throwing it out there, that's probably what they do in those places. But yeah, I mean, but again, it was down as he was a pedophile, and that's just not what happened. But again, this is one of those things where that was one documentary. That was one thing that I heard. I heard the other piece. But yeah, rest in peace, Paul Rubin. He was 70. He got sick and he died. But yeah, remember that story as well. But again, I'm pretty sure it was, what was, I believe left out was, I'm pretty sure it was an adult theater. Again, not sure what they do there, but cause I've never been, but I would guess that that's probably on the list. Circus Lemonade and Socialist Cheetos. Yes. Thanks, Matt. Want to borrow that for a random conversation one day. Yeah. I always tell them, I was like, you're weak like Circus Lemonade, because what's in Circus Lemonade, it's usually super weak. It's just loaded with a bunch of sugar because they're trying to make it for as cheap as possible. But yeah, I mean, again, the problem that I always have is people. So one of the major issues that I always have with colleges is very often the professors, and this is why I like community colleges better than 4-year universities. Very often the people 4-year university, they've been on some teaching track, they've been on some, promotion track through the education system. And so they teach these things that they've never actually done. It's kind of like the movie Back to School, where you have, Rodney Dangerfield in the audience and the guy's talking up on stage and he's talking about widgets and this, that, and the other. And Dangerfield's like, no. The Japanese would kill you on the parts costs or on the assembly costs. And no, you're going to have to grease somebody's palms to get that thing done. Like, he knew what it was like running a business because he'd actually run a business. While this guy on stage talking about, hey, here's how you run a business. Generally speaking, some fundamental, yeah, but I'll learn from a guy who's run successful businesses for 20 years over a teacher who's taught business for 20 years. I'll take the business guy every second of every minute of every day because I've run businesses. And the people that I learned the most from, it wasn't from people that said, well, like consultants. Oh, dear God, consultants. No, I want to learn from the guys that have actually done the work. They've actually been in the business. They've done the things that they've said that they've done, which is really critical. Let's see. Hold on one second. Cool. I can respond back to that. But yeah, those are the things that, sorry guys. I just want to make sure that's right. Yes. Yep. I can do that. So that's where I would leave you tonight. Raging Tomato. So there won't be a show next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern time on the Raging Tomato. That is when I will be on the Raging Tomato. I would strongly encourage you guys be there. And what's really funny is these guys, they believe that looking something up on the internet is far more important than the experience. Well, that's not what the internet says. Yeah, well, that's what I actually did with the CFOs. They're all sitting there. I was like, do you know what a typical hospital's margin is? And they're like, ooh. They don't even know the word margin. They don't even know what it is, because they're all jackasses getting, $5 at a time. That's how they make their money. What was really funny is the typical hospital makes between 1.5% and 3%. That's what hospitals make. They don't make it. They make a ton of money, but it's percentage wise. It's very, very small. It's razor thin margins. That's why all of the games that are played with the insurance companies become so expensive. And that's why healthcare is so expensive. Paul Jensen got the thumbs up. Appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate it. Paul Lewis, lastly, we all have biases that can be shaped by how we grew up. Yep. who we surround ourselves with. Absolutely. I love it when there are forums where educated differences of opinions go get them, Matt. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I mean, again, from my perspective, what my goal is in those is to make sure that people get the other side of the argument, and one that's actually based in fact, not fiction and feelings. That's what I want. All of their feelings are based in fiction. They're not reality. It's something that they read online. So when they talk about Section 8, when they talk about Trump cutting those programs, nothing still happened. It still hasn't happened yet. So when it does happen, it's going to be probably the appropriate type of cuts, which is all of us that have Section 8 tenants know that probably 70 or 80% of them are lying to get the benefit that they're getting. How often do we all see that? So that's what I would challenge you guys with. I want to see you guys there next week. I want a big show of support. Yeah, it's like the Vietnam containment policy. We're not here to win. So it's, yeah. And again, I've heard a lot of things about, I've loved watching documentaries on the Vietnam War, but very often they're talking about the strategy of how things are done, as opposed to like the White House strategy perspective. So I can't really speak to it. But I want you guys there Thursday night, 9 p.m. Instead of being here, I want you over at the Raging Tomato. Do not feel like you have to super chat. Please feel free to watch, and fight for the people that believe what some of those people believe. Fight for the people that you don't want their only opinion of something to be some, crazy weirdo that hasn't ever experienced and only read it somewhere on the internet, and they're just propagating lies. You know more than they do about whatever topic we're going to talk about, and make sure that your voice is heard, because it's our responsibility. For evil to win, it only takes good men to do nothing. It's our responsibility to share experientially exactly what occurs, how it happens, the fact that, they're like, oh, well, you still take Section 8. Yeah, I do, because I'm still trying to help the system, and I can't clean the system up if I'm not involved in the system. But it's also not for me to judge, because I can't make somebody tell the truth about, I don't know that they're really not doing those things. I'm not in the doctor's office. So the only thing that I can do is continue to help the people that are in the game, in the Section 8 game, where they are, they're employed, they are trying to make it work, and they need assistance. And that's really where the most important stuff comes. You might find somebody called In Pursuit of Knowledge. Don't believe the lies. He's not in pursuit of anything other than his own socialistic, communistic view. And the worst part is that he works for a family business that he will absolutely kill if he put any of his moronic views into place. So I hope you guys are there. I look forward to seeing you. But 9 p.m. next Thursday, Raging Tomato, I will be there making magic happen and just giving the other perspective, because we want people to hear both sides. Guys, have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. I appreciate all the well wishes over getting better. As you guys can hear, it's kind of the voice is already getting ready to tap out. But I appreciate you guys. Always love being on the journey. Congratulations to Kyle for really putting a lot of what he learned in the course into play. Networking, getting into the right arenas and the right places where it's free, and you get to do all of that stuff again. It's free of charge, and that's how you can build your business. So I would encourage all of you. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening, and I will see you guys next Thursday. If you're in the school community, I will see you Sunday morning. If you're not in the school community, I will see you next Thursday night, 9 p.m. on the Raging Tomato, and hopefully see you guys there. Have a great one, everybody. Really appreciate you. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll